Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining us today to learn about how you can host virtual meetings in Ayoa. Having been forced to change how we work and with remote working looking set to continue, we think that the art of hosting successful meetings is likewise going to have to adapt. Instinctively, people have adopted video conferencing software such as Zoom, but as producers of a collaborative digital workspace, we know how intrinsic meetings are for making sure the right things get done, and have therefore developed Ayoa to offer alternative and better ways to conduct meetings and make them as successful as possible, and also fruitful for everyone. So with that in mind, we looked at how meetings used to be held in person and how they could be improved via a digital medium. If we were therefore to think about when office work was commonplace, meetings would often be held in separate rooms dominated by big boards for people to sprawl their ideas on. Without these boards, many a meeting would have likely fallen quiet, and countless moments of inspiration would have never materialized. There is undeniably something about being able to freely articulate ideas with colors, lines, and a few words which enhances our creativity. In fact, it is true. Mind mapping is recognized as complementing how our brains function, meaning that the application of them supports and strengthens our cognitive ability. With mind mapping already being a vital part of Ayoa, we therefore thought it would be right for them to play the starring role for our users when they host virtual meetings via our software. So I shall open up an example one for you now to show you not just a mind map like you have probably seen before in thousands of meetings, but one which you can collaborate with others via in real time, no matter where you are, and do much more with. The mind map you can see has a very basic structure and clearly sets out the key points and objectives of this pretend meeting. Being able to produce a mind map such as this before a meeting and ensure everyone has it on their screens is a huge advantage compared to when having a meeting just via a video conferencing piece of software. In those latter scenarios, you risk meetings spiraling off in any direction and no focus being employed at all throughout. Whereas if you have a mind map such as this to reference to, it can help everyone keep on topic and remain focused. Another thing which you will notice is that the formatting of the branches in this mind map is very ordered and neat. That is because we are currently using the speed map style within Ayoa. This layout might therefore again be handy for keeping your meeting on track rather than becoming chaotic. However, we do also have other styles available which you can easily switch to, and I will show you how later on. Now you might currently be thinking that this is still just a mind map and that the only difference about it in comparison to one you might have found in an office meeting in the past is that everyone can access it digitally themselves. Yet, if I click onto a branch, you'll see that a selection of options appear. And in comparison, you would not be able to do that with a pen, even if you pressed it onto a bit of paper really hard. The first icon of a pencil simply allows me to rename my branch, and the next one of the paintbrush enables me to customize the style of my branch. This again is a feature which would not exist when physically mind mapping during meetings. With Ayoa, you can continue to edit and customize your mind map however you like, even after you have drawn your ideas. You could, for instance, utilize a key within your mind map and say that everything which is in a speech bubble style represents that you have discussed it with your colleagues, and that if it's orange, that would signify that it still requires further discussions. You can also add images, as you can see up here, to really emphasize your points and make the most of mind maps being a medium which stimulates thoughts via visual means. To do so, all you've got to do is click on this button, and then you can select to choose an image either saved on your device, from a selection of different emojis we have, or you can browse the web via a royalty-free website who we've partnered up with. And once I double click on it, you'll see that it instantly appears within my bubble. However, if we look at the top of the side panel for this branch, You will also notice that there are more tabs along the top, alongside the paintbrush. And these too enable users to take their mind mapping meetings to the next level. First up, there is the notes section. This exists because, as mentioned, mind mapping is a very visual way to work, and you therefore don't want to clutter it with too many words, otherwise it will become very messy very quickly. The notes section therefore means that users can add extra information to any branch which they like without encroaching on the visual element of the mind map. In the scenario of meetings, this might therefore be good for the meeting organizer to add in advance so that their colleagues have a bit of extra context to what they're seeing within the mind map. The good thing is that they will also know to access it, because as you can see, now that I've saved that note, when I zoom in onto this branch, there is a notes icon at the base of it, informing everyone within the mind map that behind this branch sits a bit of extra information. If I therefore click on the notes icon, it opens up the appropriate note for me to see that extra information. The next tab in the side panel is that of the comments section, and this is where the virtual element whilst remote working really takes off. Not only can everyone within the mind map add to it in real time, resulting in everyone seeing the contributions they make the moment they do so. In addition, thanks to the comments section behind each branch, people can also talk to each other about specific areas of the mind map. However, not only can this area be used for conversation during meetings and grabbing the attention of specific people by tagging them in your messages, by using the @ symbol down the bottom here or typing it in on your keyboard. When being used in a meeting, it also means that everyone's additional notes can be seen. So no longer after a meeting will you have to ask for what any of your colleagues was scribbling down upon a certain part of the meeting, as you could all instead add it to the comments section, or alternatively, of course, on the mind map itself if you prefer. The final tab we're going to talk about for now is that of attachments, and that's the next one to the right of the comments. This is a bit like the notes section because it gives the opportunity for extra context to sit behind each branch. Instead of having to print everything off and haul folders into meeting rooms, all of the relevant information can now be uploaded and placed within a visual context of a mind map. And you can choose to add any sort of file by clicking on this box up here and then selecting where you want to source it from. It can be from your device, your Dropbox account, or even your Google Drive. In addition, in the attachments section, you can also add web links just below in this little section. All you've got to do is simply type in any web address. And then when you click add, it will appear just below. This is handy because if during your meeting you suddenly want everyone to be looking at the same site, instead of having to direct them through the internet, through the web pages, instead they have the exact link here ready for them. And at a touch of a button, once they click it, the precise web page is loaded in an additional tab, like you can see now. So they are just some of the ways in which we have enhanced meetings by putting the digital into mind maps, but we've got more to show you. Currently, as mentioned earlier, we are in the structured speed map style, but what if your meeting took a creative turn? Well, in direct contrast, we have what is known as organic maps, which I'll show you now. These look a little different from speed maps, and this is due to the fact that you can curve your branches however you like, making it super flexible and more attuned to your thinking. This mind map is for getting a design ready for an advert, and admittedly it isn't very far along, but it's always good to work in a less rigid format when you're hoping for ideas to fly. And if we imagine now we're in a scenario where our ideas have in fact taken off and led to some actions wanting to be taken, if we click on a branch, you'll see that once again you get exactly the same options appear. But this time, we're going to click on the tick icon. This will again open up the side panel, but will be in the final tab for tasks, as that is what the tick signifies. Within this area, basically we are able to designate tasks, and it is here to ensure that our inspiration is transformed into action. Because all you've got to do is type in the name of your task, so it might be picking the logo color. I'll then click on the 3 vertical dots, assign it to the correct person, and then all you've got to do is place it in the correct task board, which is the project management element of Ayoa, where you can share, track, update, and importantly, complete tasks. This ability is the crown jewel of Ayoa, or one of many of them actually, but it is so important as it enables you to make sure that your great ideas actually amount to something. They turn into something tangible. No longer will you have brilliant meetings, leave the room energized, but then only to be immediately distracted, forget the context of your notes, and not know which direction you're meant to be taking. Or return to your meeting room a day later to find sticky notes lost and half of your whiteboard scrubbed off. With Ayoa, thanks to linking the ideation stage, i.e. the mind maps, with action, i.e. the task boards, progress is guaranteed for all meetings. Now, before I skip from this mind map to the task boards, there are just a few more things I'd like to show you, which can be found in the options bar in the very top right. First up is the ability to change the background color of your mind map. It might not sound too exciting, but for some users it can be invaluable because people with neurological differences such as dyslexia or ADHD prefer not to use a stark white background. We therefore have the option for all sorts of colors to be picked, including the mellow yellow sort of creamy color, which is really dyslexia friendly and favorable. And at this point, it's also good to point out that we use a dyslexia friendly font within Ayoa too, so that the whole team can work to the best of their abilities together when using it. And the other option to mention within the options bar is that of enabling voting down here. We do, of course, have the comments section for people to share their thoughts, but with this enabled, if people are too lazy to actually type something out, now they can just click on a branch and give a thumbs up, and that will indicate that they like an idea, for example. So that about concludes how you can use mind maps for virtual meetings, but we do have one other option available to you, which can be very applicable to this scenario. That is Radial Maps, and you're seeing one now. It doesn't look anything like the other mind maps we have seen today. Instead, it's more like a pie chart, but it can still be very useful for remote meetings, especially those which are company-wide, for example, and involve different departments. That is because Radial Maps allow you to segment information with ease. For example, as you can see here, we have divided it into marketing, sales, finance, and development parts of a company, meaning that everything which comes subsequent to each of these departments is just relevant to them. Why this is so good is because it allows everyone to see the big picture across all departments for the overall meeting, but when they are just concerned with their own agenda, they can click on their section and select the additional option to focus in, which I'll do now. So I'll click on a segment, and then I'll press the focus in button here. And as a result, this closes off everything else and enables you to focus on what is your immediate concern. And you can continue to focus in as much as you like to see more detail, depending on whatever you're working on. And alternatively, you can also use this button here to focus out layer by layer, or click on the home button to skip all the way back to see the big picture all over again. Also, if this format becomes obsolete after the meeting, like with all Ayoa mind maps, by clicking on the options bar on the top right again, and then the first option of View As, individual users can switch between Mindmap styles whenever they wish, and exactly the same information will be reflected, just in a different format. So as you can see, we're now in the more structured speed map style. So they are the different mind maps we have and the shared capabilities they possess to help you take your remote virtual meetings to the next level. However, as mentioned, Ayoa does also have a task and project management aspect to it too, which helps meetings become more meaningful and productive. If I therefore return to our mind map about designing an advert, and I'll create a task here by clicking on the branch and the tick icon, assign it to myself. I'll place it in the task board called Advertising Campaign and place it in the category Visuals. And then I'll add the task. If I zoom in onto this branch, you'll now see that there's a tick next to it telling me that a task is linked to it. If I click on that, and then the task box over here, before finally scrolling down to the task location and clicking on the arrow next to the task board, it will transport me straight away to the correct task board. And as you can see, there's that task we created in the center here within our mind map, now also appearing on a task board, which is the project management aspect of Ayoa. Here, as stated earlier, I can track, share, update, and importantly, complete my task within this shared collaborative task board, along with my other colleagues. Our project management is very flexible, like our mind maps, and comes in 3 interchangeable styles, depending on what best suits individuals. Currently, you're seeing the Canvas mode, but we also have a Gantt timeline and a more linear list mode called Workflow style. But today, we are just focusing on meetings. So if you would like to learn more about Ayoa and potentially just the project management aspects of it, please do check out our upcoming webinars and catch one of them, including our Introduction to Ayoa ones, because they also showcase our project management elements in more depth. And that about concludes our webinar for today, talking about how you can use Ayoa to host virtual meetings. As you can see, it offers a brilliant alternative to just Zoom meetings, or could in fact accompany them and be used alongside, which is a big hint to some of the developments we are soon set to release. I hope today was helpful, and if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A section now, and I'll try to answer them for you as best as I can. As mentioned before, we do also always run weekly webinars upon different topics. This week it was hosting virtual meetings, but we also do a bi-weekly one of an introduction to Ayoa, and that covers the mind mapping and the project management side of it. Also, please feel free to check out our YouTube page because they have additional guidance videos on there, which might be able to help you out with any questions you have or just general user advice of Ayoa. It doesn't look like we've currently got any questions. So thank you again for everyone who joined. Hopefully see you again in the future, and I hope today was helpful for you all. Many thanks and stay safe. Bye for now.